Hello, welcome to the news. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is John Bamidele. Let's bring you the headlines. President Buhari canvasses urgent and robust assistance for least developed countries towards unlocking their potential and building socio-economic resilience. Nigeria and Iran to improve bilateral relations in oil and gas and agricultural sectors. Rohingya humanitarian crisis deepens as fire ravages refugee camp in Bangladesh. We'll begin from Doha, where President Muhammadu Buhari says if no one is to be left behind in the quest to achieve sustainable development goals, least developed countries must be given urgent and robust assistance towards unlocking their potential and building socio-economic resilience. This was while addressing the 5th United Nations Conference on Least Developed Countries in Doha, the state of Qatar. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports.
Nigeria is here to show solidarity and support to the least developed countries in their quest to achieve the sustainable development goals.
Least developed countries, President Buhari says, are facing enormous challenges and therefore in need of transformative solutions. The theme of the event, From Potential to Prosperity, he believes, is not only apt, but indeed a call to action in addressing their developmental vulnerabilities and challenges that are not always of their making.
As a matter of urgency, there are a number of priorities we have to focus on to help achieve sustainable development goals in these countries and ensure their prosperity. There is no doubt that the least developed countries need enormous financial support and investment of enormous resources to reduce poverty, create jobs, combat hunger, expand social protection systems, and ensure quality education.
Nigeria, the president explains, is strongly committed to achieving the SDGs and believes that the Doha Program of Action presents a viable framework for achieving these goals. He therefore urges developed countries, civil society actors, the private sector, and the business community to partner with the least developed countries in order to provide them necessary resources and help develop their capacities to achieve the economic, social, and environmental goals of the 2030 Agenda.
Nigeria canvasses for duty-free and quota-free market access for products originating from the least developed countries to ensure their integration in regional and global value chains. Similarly, it is important to put in place modalities to facilitate transit cooperation, transfer of technologies, and access to global e-commerce platforms, as they are critical for least developed countries' integration into the regional and global value chains and communication technology services.
President Buhari is also worried that least developed countries continue to suffer disproportionately from the effects of climate change, despite contributing the least to its causes, noting that deaths from climate-related crises are higher in the most vulnerable countries, with projections that there will continue to be an upward trend.
Accordingly, we must prioritize cutting global emissions and work with determination to hold warming to 1.5 degrees, thereby securing our children's future. We must also commit to helping build resilience in developing countries, while also providing the needed technical as well as financial support for a just transition to renewable energy.
The world leaders, he also said, must continue to focus on how best to ensure the provision of security, education, health, and other basic services for their people in order to guarantee a prosperous future for all. From Doha, Qatar, Adam Musambo, NTA News.
Still in Doha, Iran is seeking to collaborate more effectively with Nigeria towards deepening and expanding their relations in the oil and gas, agriculture, and other critical sectors for enhanced socio-economic well-being of the two countries and their people. This came to light when President Muhammadu Buhari granted an audience to the Iranian Vice President Mohsen Mansouri on the margins of the UN conference on the least developed countries holding in Doha. Once again, here is State House correspondent Adam Sambo.
The Islamic Republic of Iran is now under severe economic sanctions imposed on the country by the West over nuclear and other issues of concern. The Iranian Vice President Mohsen Mansouri is here to solicit for Nigeria's understanding and support towards maintaining channels of communication and cooperation to enable his country break out of the isolation it finds itself in.
You know, Nigeria is a non-aligned country. We have our independent foreign policy that is not, we're not dictated to by any other country. And I think Iran understands that and understands that as a big country that is not dependent on any other country and not easily influenced by other countries, that Nigeria is a country that, you know, they can aspire to have closer relations with, especially trading relations, economic relations, and, you know, and also in other areas. They really want to expand these relations into all sectors.
President Buhari and the Iranian Vice President also devoted time to talk about the challenges of multilateralism and the need for it to be strengthened in the world for the benefit of all.
Iran and Nigeria both have an important role to play as big countries with rich human resources and you know, and the wealth they have from natural resources, how they can also push for multilateralism to be the order of the day and avoid, you know, a unipolar world. They talked about setting up a joint commission between the two countries to be at the highest level possible as way forward. As leaders in the two different regions, that it was important for these two countries to take the lead.
President Buhari briefed his guest on the just concluded presidential election in Nigeria, saying the newly elected president will be taking over in May this year, and expressed the hope that the strong relations between the two countries built over the years will continue to endure. From Doha, State of Qatar, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Nigeria and India have signed a memorandum of understanding to partner on meteorological science, technical research and development. NIMET Director General Professor Mansur Matazu signed the MOU on behalf of the federal government during the recent Executive Council meeting of the World Meteorological Organization held in Geneva, Switzerland. Minister of Aviation Senator Hadi Sirika, who oversaw the signing ceremony alongside the Indian High Mission to Geneva, said the MOU marked another milestone in the unprecedented growth of NIMET under the Buhari administration. He said the event was also a great testimonial to the global leadership of NIMET within the world meteorological community attained during the tenure of Professor Mansur Matazu as Director General. Professor Mansur said the main objective of the proposed collaboration is to provide bilateral relations between NIMET and its Indian counterpart towards meteorological development in both countries. Ghana this Monday is celebrating 66 years of independence from British colonial rule. The day is a national holiday for the citizens to show patriotism and commitment to the development of the country. The Ghanaians are showcasing historic achievements by Nkrumah that made Ghana the first sub-Saharan country to gain freedom from colonial rule. The Nkrumah efforts encouraged other countries in the region to fight for their own independence a few years later. More news from the global scene. Rohingya humanitarian crisis deepens as fire ravages refugee camp in Bangladesh. Details now with Onenge Fineface.
Residents of our Rohingya refugee camp in southeastern Bangladesh sift through smoldering debris after a fire destroyed 2,000 shelters and left 12,000 people homeless. Aerial images show smoke, flames and destruction as residents bemoan the devastating fire which has worsened their already fragile living condition. The blaze broke out during the afternoon at camp number 11 in Kutupalong, one of the world's largest refugee settlements, leaving thousands of people without shelter. Elsewhere, suicide bombing has killed 9 police officers and wounded 16 others Monday in southwestern Pakistan, local officials say. Security forces in the region have been battling years-long insurgency by militants. Images from the scene of the bombing show ambulances arriving at and leaving a hospital in the city of Sibi in Balochistan, as well as relatives of those killed handling their coffins. In Europe, on the eve of a 6th day of action against pension reform, which is expected to be massive, some French people polled in Paris say they are worried or say they have made some arrangements. Others are optimistic that they will always find solutions to the pensions crisis. Trade unions say they want to bring France to a standstill with the walkouts, which could be renewed to press home their demands. Residents say the situation is tense because 60% of people are against the pension reform, worried that the standoff will continue and is likely to escalate as the French are making do in the face of the protest movement. Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
Back home, the dreaded queues are here again, with motorists lamenting the long hours spent to get their vehicles fueled. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority has attributed the queues to tanker drivers taking time off for the presidential elections. Earlier in one of our bulletins, I spoke with our correspondent, Lydia Sampson, about the situation here in Abuja. So let's see the excerpt.
Motorists are waiting on queues. Initially they were dispensing, but right now nothing seems to be happening. And I can tell you, Ruth, that motorists are very angry. According to them, whatever the reason, this is happening one time too many. And they believe the authorities and the regulatory members know what is responsible. And they cannot just comprehend why they have to waste hours, productive hours, waiting to get fuel. So they are very angry. We even tried to get some people to talk to us, but they would rather not. While standing here waiting for you to join me live, a lot of people passing by were even throwing silly comments at us, feeling as if NTA is part of it all. But the situation here, Ruth, is that motorists are angry. They are angry that this is happening one time too many.
Lydia, I can imagine it's very unfortunate. I can imagine what you and the crew there are going through at the moment. It's affecting everybody, no doubt. But the downstream and midstream, made attribution that it's because of the election over the past weekend. But what is being done? Have you spoken to any of any authority, so to say, to find out how this problem can be fixed?
Beyond the statement they gave earlier on, we have not been able to speak to them directly because they kept saying everything is contained in their statement. But Ruth, the complexity of oil supply, the supply chain is that one day or even 30 minutes disruption will have ripple effects, especially in places like Abuja and Lagos where the traffic is high. Hopefully we will bounce back, but for now, everyone is on his toe, trying to make sure the supply gap and the supply chain is reactivated.
All right, our correspondent there giving us update on the resurgence of few queues in the FCT. Let's go on. Welcome back. The People's Democratic Party and its 2023 presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, have submitted a letter of petition to the Independent National Electoral Commission. demanding the cancellation of the 25th February 2023 presidential election. Timothy Yusuf reports that the party laid the complaint during a peaceful protest to the INEC headquarters in Abuja.
PDP National Working Committee and members of the party's presidential campaign organization at the Abuja Legacy House of the PDP, first gathering after the 25 February presidential and national assembly polls. They came with a common agenda, a peaceful march to the INEC headquarters to register grievances over alleged irregularities in the conduct of the recent presidential election, where the PDP candidate emerged runner-up. The march to INEC led by Atiku Abubakar, with PDP National Chairman Senator Yocha Ayu presenting their letter of grievance to INEC.
We call on INEC not only to cancel the election, but do the needful and conduct a very credible election.
INEC National Chairman, represented by the National Commissioner for Voter Education, Festus Okoye, restated the Commission's allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
If there are remedial issues to be dealt with, we are going to deal with those remedial issues.
Away from the INEC headquarters, a group under the banner of Votes Must Count International Initiatives enjoined INEC to reawaken citizens' confidence going forward.
The leadership of INEC did not host an election with the influence of the Electoral Act.
The Senator Usman Wowo-led People's Forum Abuja, on the contrary, enjoined aggrieved political parties and their candidates to seek legal redress rather than acts that may breach the nation's enduring peace.
And we believe that whatever the outcomes from the court, every of them will be abide by it, rather than taking law into our hands.
They urged politicians to demonstrate sincere love.
North Central All Progressives Congress stakeholders have expressed confidence that the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu will make his government a youth-friendly one. The group is equally hoping that a worthwhile reward system will be adopted to acknowledge hard work. Salihu Gwanara reports.
These stakeholders acknowledged the voting strength of the North Central geopolitical zone that led to the successes of the All Progressives Congress in the last three cycles of elections, in which the party came out top at the center since its formation in 2013.
As a sagacious leader, we have no fear about your ability to fetch the best hands for further assignment. Politics is over. It is now time for governance, which is why we also lend our voice to the call on the opposition to accept, as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu extend a hand of fellowship to them in the interest of peace and our shared interest for the development of Nigeria.
Meanwhile, Ibo Kwenu for Tinubu and Shetima has appealed to Nigerians to join hands and work with the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the task of sustaining the gains and rebuilding the country.
Even with statistics, none of these two parties have got the moral standard, the statistics standard to do what we've been able to achieve. APC won the election because we believe that God, who knows how to put the right people in the right place, will bring him on board authority of power to serve Nigeria.
The group acknowledged the active participation of Nigerians towards building a lasting democracy beyond 2023 in Abuja. Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The Police Service Commission is demanding for improved performance from police officers on election duties during Saturday's governorship and state houses of assembly elections. In a statement, the Commission says it is also expecting reports from the leadership of the Nigerian Police Force on proven cases of misconduct for the Commission's consideration. The Commission enjoins police officers on election duties to restrict themselves to ensure that voters are allowed to discharge their civic responsibility and that their votes are protected. Similarly, the Commission warns that the police personnel must not encourage the subversion of the people's will at the polling and collation centers and must not show any sign of partisanship. Ahead of this Saturday's governorship and state houses of assembly elections, strategic commanders of police formations have been charged to provide the needed leadership to ensure a peaceful atmosphere for the electorate and those on election duty. Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba gave the directive at a meeting with strategic commanders at the force headquarters in Abuja. Francis Fong reports.
I wish to use this forum to convey my sincere appreciation and commendation to you all seated here.
The police chief, IGP Usman Alkali Baba, is impressed with the performance and conduct of his men at the last week's presidential and National Assembly elections, but wants an improvement.
I charge you all to recommit yourselves to national duty and sustain the high operational level that is attracting a broad commendation to the force.
Here he is meeting them for another national assignment. It is about this week's governorship and state assembly elections. Nothing less is expected from you, Alkali Baba told strategic commanders.
You must be prepared to work more assiduously towards providing the requisite strategic leadership in your various posts for your personnel in guaranteeing an electoral and general public space that will remain stable, peaceful, and secure enough to keep citizens in no doubt of our unwavering commitment to their yearning for a credible electoral process.
IGP Alkali Baba reminded the strategic commanders of the force to see towards their operations within the rule of law and remain non-partisan, firm and supportive to INEC.
I also admonish parents and guardians to prevail on their children and wards to resist the urge of being recruited as canon holders or destabilizing agents to disrupt our electoral process. The Nigerian police will be alert to its responsibility.
Towards thousand detention that may have arisen in the presidential and National Assembly elections, IGP Alkali Baba applauds the initiative of the Lagos and some states' commissioners of police on peace and ordered other CPs to follow suit. IGP Alkali Baba assures Nigerians and the international community of the force's commitment to protection of lives and property with strict adherence to the rules of engagement. Francis from NTA News.
Gombe State is steadily implementing the Nigerian COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus NG Cares, tagged Go Cares, in the state, with more entrepreneurs in the state granted over 500 million naira to support their businesses. Emmanuel Akila reports.
Gombe State government has been disbursing funds from the budgeted 8.5 billion naira to support 288,700 households, farmers and small-scale businesses recover from the economic recession occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. The beneficiaries of 500 million naira Go Cares Fund from different business groups and motorcycle riders who got 10 million naira and a pledge of 15,000 motorcycles are assured of proper utilization of the grant to enhance economic development of Gombe State and Nigeria at large. For the business community, besides the financial grant, the government ensures security of lives and property. Governor Muhammad Ino Yahaya assures of sustainable support to businesses to improve the quality of life of the people of Gombe State. So far, 3.4 billion naira is given to 147,666 people as grants from the fund earmarked for Go Cares. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
The president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu has condemned attacks at the weekend in Maru local government area of Zamfara State and Megari town of Rimin Gado local government in Kano State by bandits and unknown assailants. A divisional police officer, a police inspector and a vigilante were reported killed in the attack in Zamfara, while in Kano, attack on unknown gunmen broke into the residence of a village head and shot him dead. In a statement by his media office, Tinubu said the attack on Maru town after a period of relative peace in Zamfara State was a reminder that more needs to be done to completely defeat bandits and terrorists. In a separate condolence messages, the president-elect consoled prominent cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, who lost his aged mother, and the family of the late General Sani Abacha over the death of their son, Abdullahi. The president-elect condoled with all the families who lost their relatives and prayed for God's mercies on the departed souls. Right, next to sports.